It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Great to have you in studio with us today. Scott Mayberry in studio. He is the Yavapai County Juvenile Probation Director. Welcome back. It's been a while.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Probably a couple of years since we've had you in.
Right.
Yeah. Let's jump right into it. Last time we had you here, you were having a new facility built.
Yeah.
That's done, long done.
Yeah, we've been in for about 3 years, 3.5 years now. So
it's been more than 2 years since you've been here last time.
Yeah, very close.
Well, what we're going to talk about is Nursery Rhymes and Daddies, and that's coming up a little bit later in the show. That's a video and a song that we put out this year. It's gotten national attention.
Right.
And that's when I spoke to you, I want to say it was like January, February this year. I was talking to you, and we did a story with you about that. So I thought we'd get you to come in at this time and talk more about it. But before we do that, give us kind of an idea how things are going with juvenile probation.
It's going well.
Yeah.
We actually, our numbers are actually steady or actually falling, continue to fall.
And when you say numbers, what does that mean? Give us a number.
Number of kids that we deal with in our detention center. We're embarking on a lot of initiatives to try and keep kids out of detention if we can, and keep them in the community and do supervision and keep the community safe, but also we understand that it does a lot of harm to detain kids and put them in jail. So there's a lot of initiatives across the United States that are reducing the numbers of kids that are going to prisons and jails. So we're part of that.
How's that working? And what do we do for that anyways? How does that work?
So, you know, we put a lot of programs in place to supervise kids in the community. Recently, the Board of Supervisors just gave us money to implement a GPS and home detention tracking program. So we're going to have officers out in the community more, tracking kids at home and in school and counseling and that type of thing. So we try and find different alternatives to detention.
You hear about that, about how kids, maybe not so bad, made a few mistakes, but going into detention and then getting in with maybe some other folks that are not going to influence them very well.
Right.
And they come back even worse.
And that's the key, is you don't want to detain your low-level offenders. You want to use detention for kids that are high-level, real risk to the community, because you put those low-level offenders in with high-risk offenders, and obviously the high-risk offenders are going to have a worse impact on those kids, on the low-level ones. So.
How many kids do we normally have in juvenile detention right now?
So we're probably averaging about 27 to 30 kids a day. You know, as opposed to 5 or 6 years ago, we were averaging 40 kids a day.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's much better. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's get into the video.
Sure.
I just kind of wanted to get a kind of a rough idea how things are going, and
Sure.
it sounds like they're going really well. Now, you had a song. You know what? Maybe let's start this way. I'm trying to figure out how to start this out here, but human trafficking. That was kind of the spur for this. So let's start at the beginning. You tell me the story, and then when I've got to take a break, I'll let you know when I got to take a break. So tell me how this all came about.
So in juvenile court, we deal with a number of issues, and human trafficking is one of those. And it's really been a hot topic in the United States over the last several years. We've had all of our officers trained on how to identify kids that are trafficked, and we have probably 10 kids right now that we're dealing with that have been trafficked.
And what does that mean?
Those are kids that have been exploited for sexual purposes. They're oftentimes girls, although boys are also trafficked. But they're oftentimes girls that run away. They have no or very few connections to the community, and they're exploited by somebody that's going to use them for commercial gain, and
Gotcha.
oftentimes for sexual purposes. But it's not always your typical, pimp type person that preys on these kids. Sometimes we've got a couple cases where parents are doing this for money, for meth and that type of thing, so they will traffic their own child to get money.
We hear about that.
Yeah, so it takes all different forms. And so we have those cases in juvenile court, and recently we had one, and one of my hobbies is to write music. I wrote this song called Nursery Rhymes and Daddies, you know, after we dealt with a case that was pretty tough in juvenile court. I go back into detention every once in a while and sing and write songs with the kids and try and connect with the kids in that way. One of my detention officers, her name's Cecilia Mendoza, said she thought she was going to make money off of this song. Tried to contact Garth Brooks and George Strait, and that wasn't working out too well. So I said, you know, why don't we use it to raise attention to this issue of human trafficking? And actually talked to Doug Bartosh and Sheila Polk, and Doug says, I know this guy that'll do that.
Everybody knows a guy.
Yeah,
right?
Knows a guy.
Yeah.
So local guy, Christopher Robin here, I went into his office and sat down and played this song and said, I want to make a video and start raising awareness to this issue. And he looked at me like I had three heads and said, what are we doing? And, you know, this was an issue that he wasn't familiar with.
I think a lot of us aren't.
Yeah, and so that was the whole purpose of this thing, is to try and find a medium that everybody connects with. You can hand out leaflets, you can hand out, you can do seminars, you can talk about it, but I thought, you know, music is something that everybody connects to. So if we can make a video, it's a way to really get the word out there in an unorthodox fashion. So talked to Christopher. He knew a guy who does video, and Mike McClellan, he's a local guy, and eventually this team started building around this entire project, and Rob Burson was the director in this. My family got involved. My daughter actually wanted to be the actress, the main girl in this video.
When did the whole project idea start?
So that started in October.
Okay, so last October. Okay, so go ahead with your story. I just want to give folks an idea as how long it takes to put something like this together.
Then it wrapped up in April.
Okay. So
for a 6 to 8 minute video, it took us 6 months to get it completed. But
so your daughter was going to be the actress, the lead character. Okay.
You look at the video and you'll see that she was the lead actress. And we also wanted to involve the community and make sure that you know, we had a broad representation from the community. So we redesigned the song to incorporate the Mingus Union Choir. And James Ball helped us out with that, so you'll see the choir was involved there. And then throughout the process and the making of this, my wife put together a Facebook page that was followed by hundreds of people.
Can we take a break?
Yes.
Okay, the Facebook page. We'll come back and we'll talk about the Facebook page. You said followed by hundreds of people. Scott Mayberry in studio today, Director of Yavapai County Juvenile Probation. This is Countywide. Stick around. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
I'm Jenny Garth. And as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. Even though we are one of the most food-rich countries in the world, 15 million children don't know where their next meal is coming from. This is unacceptable, and something the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks is working to solve. Instead of accepting that our country lets billions of pounds of surplus food go to waste every year, Feeding America has made it their mission to help families in need by rescuing this food. Through food pantries and meal programs, the nationwide network of food banks provides more than 3 billion meals, serving virtually every community in the United States, including yours. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank by visiting feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Welcome back to Countywide. Scott Mabry in studio today with Yavapai County Juvenile Probation. He's the director there, and we're talking about nursery rhymes and daddies. And this is all about bringing awareness to human trafficking. There's going to be a link in the video. We're going to show it as well in the channel, but there'll be a link for the how to get to the YouTube area to find this particular video as well. I think you said it was about 6 minutes long.
Right.
But there's more than one version?
Yeah.
Is there? Okay. Yeah. Long version, short version?
There's a presentation version and then a short version.
Okay.
So,
all right. You probably should watch both of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we left off, before we took the break, Facebook page opened up. Hundreds of people were on it. What are they doing?
So people just following the project and the progression of the project. There was a lot of filming done here in town. And
where at?
Well, the Little Daisy. There was Clarkdale at the gazebo. You'll recognize 1012 in Clarkdale. Main Street Cafe. We shot the major scene was actually in Prescott at the Juvenile Justice Center. But, you know, one of the things that was amazing is we started watching this Facebook page, and there were a lot of young girls in the Philippines that started following the progression of this.
Oh, really?
And it got pretty spooky in us thinking that these were girls that were crying for help. That you can't come out and say, you know, I need help. But this was, you know, several nights my wife and I would sit there and look at the Facebook page at the people that were following. And if we had 700 people following this Facebook page, 150 were from Manila in the Philippines, which is a huge area for human trafficking.
Sure.
So, so the project. Also, we got every municipality, city and town, Board of Supervisors for the county to sign a proclamation for human trafficking awareness. We had every law enforcement agency in Yavapai County sign on as a partner and a supporter of this project and also raising awareness for human trafficking. And many of those people were part of the video. Many of the law enforcement agencies were part of the video. So the project blew up much bigger than just a song and a video. It really, every single politician in Yavapai County was involved in some way.
Everybody got pretty passionate about it, didn't they?
Yeah, and it became something that, you know, most people said, I didn't know that this was happening here, and so just the making of it raised the awareness for people to understand that it does happen here. You know, it takes many forms, but it happens.
Well, you said just a couple minutes ago that there's at least 10 kids in your department right now that have been subject to this, victims of this.
Correct. The project even went so far, my daughter was listening to Cindy McCain up at NAU, and after Cindy's presentation, Bailey went up to her and introduced herself, and she said, I know who you are, and I know who your dad is, and you're shooting this video in Yavapai County, and the grand finale scene, I intend to be there. And so you'll see Cindy McCain in the video. She showed up. was an integral part of this, and an integral part of the unveiling that we had in April. And one of the very cool things was Cindy looked down at everybody, this entire production crew, from Christopher Robin and Mike McClellan and Rob Burson and all the people that worked in this thing. And she said, I'm going to the Vatican and I'm going to hand deliver this to the Pope. So,
oh wow,
yeah. So that was, you know, as far as raising awareness, I don't know that it gets bigger than that.
Right,
so
right.
That was pretty neat.
So now you mentioned it is getting national attention.
Yeah.
Other than the Pope,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so how are you spreading this out there and getting it all out to all these folks across the country and nation?
So far, I've talked at a number of conferences about this. It was used 2 weeks ago at a huge conference that was in Phoenix by Trust AZ, who helped fund this project. It's on the governor's website for human trafficking. Many police departments have put it up on their websites as a link to for human trafficking. So, you know, it's a lot of people are using it in presentations and that type of thing, and it's on YouTube, and so people watch it from there, and it just kind of spreads and grows. Yeah.
So, I was asking during the break. I've always been amazed by this, that somebody can sit down and put words on a piece of paper and then know how to put music to that, and you don't know how you do it either, which is just baffling to me. And you say you're not a great guitar player, but you know how to play the guitar.
Right.
And apparently you know how to write songs.
Right.
So kind of walk me through, how'd you come up with it? I mean,
well, so
you had this, I know you had this rough case. You said it was a really rough case, and I don't want to belittle that, but it was a rough case, so it obviously spoke to you.
Sure.
And I mean, after a while, with what you do for a living, you've got to get to a point where you just kind of tired of seeing this. It's like, why is this even still happening?
Right.
Yeah. So
that's kind of my outlet, is writing music, and oftentimes when something touches me, then it comes easy. And so you have to have, I think for most people that write songs, it's an inspiration, and it can be a positive inspiration or a negative inspiration, and sometimes it comes out as a negative. I actually wrote this song for my daughters, and you'll have to listen to the song to understand, but it's that nursery rhymes and daddies used to keep our girls well, but times have changed. You have to rearrange the stories that we tell, and it uses nursery rhymes and kind of puts a twist on what used to be and the innocence of life and the way nursery rhymes were sung. And now times are different, and we have to protect our kids more than we ever used to have to.
And now some of these victims, I believe when I talked to you months ago, I think you were saying that some of the victims that are at the Juvenile Probation Department, they're victims, but now they're actually being housed there. So this has obviously altered their life dramatically, and now they're incarcerated. But some of these gals helped with writing this, putting this together?
You know, I wrote it, but I actually sang it with some kids, and they were actually not victims of this crime, but they were kids in detention that could identify. They were runners, and they're just tough kids. And that's part of the thing with the human trafficking. What we're learning is, and we need to change the terminology, especially when we're dealing with kids, that these are not prostitutes, they are victims, and I think that is something that society has to wrap its head around, especially when we're dealing with kids, as oftentimes this is not a choice. It's never a choice for a child. A child cannot consent to this, and they are the victims of this. So that's one of the things in protocols that are being developed across the state, is that, you know, we don't charge them with prostitution. We don't call them prostitutes. They are victims of human trafficking, and you know, so that's just one piece that we're trying to educate people on.
Wow. Okay.
And make sure our responses are victim-centered instead of you know, seeing them as perpetrators. So.
Yeah, that kind of surprises me. We have to take another break. Yavapai County Juvenile Probation Director Scott Mabry in studio today. We're talking about nursery rhymes and daddies. If you type that in on a Google search, it should pop up on YouTube, and you can check out the video there. It'll also be included with this show as well. Stick around. Countywide back in just a couple minutes.
Come celebrate summer and agriculture at the 25th Annual Camp Verde Corn Fest, July 15th and 16th in downtown Camp Verde. Enjoy fire-roasted sweet corn, live music, beer garden, craft fair, cornhole contest, plus kids contests and activities. The Fort Verde State Historic Park will host a vintage baseball game and Adobe brickmaking demonstrations. Celebrate the summer season and the delicious sweet corn from Camp Verde at the 25th Annual Corn Fest.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs? Just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke fast.
Welcome back to Countywide. Just a couple minutes left in the program. Again, the video and song is Nursery Rhymes and Daddies.
Right.
It's on YouTube.
Right.
There's a couple different versions. There's just a regular music video, and then there's a presentation video.
Right.
Okay. So that's just out there.
Yeah.
Anybody can use it.
Anybody can use it.
Anybody can use it and spread the word. And we wanted to reiterate the fact, too, that, and I remember I had a guest in here, I want to say a year or two ago, time flies as everybody knows, it's watching, listening for me, that brought that to my attention, too. And the key words just before this last break was we've got to look at these folks as victims.
Right.
Because they are juveniles.
Right.
They are under the age of 18.
Right.
Roaming the streets. And in some cases, it's mom and dad or aunts and uncles or caretakers that have taken these kids and turned them into prostitutes.
Exactly.
And they are being forced into this, so therefore they are victims.
Right.
They are at the Juvenile Probation Department because they've done something else.
Correct.
And
very rarely,
right.
if ever, have they been charged with prostitution.
Mm-hmm.
It's always something else.
They are the victims in
yes,
this case.
Correct.
And I think that is hard for people to understand.
It is. Yeah. But that's a paradigm shift that we have to make. And that's something that comes out in this video, and that you will see that these kids are often runners. They're often lost, and somebody is taking advantage of that situation. So.
All right. Nursery Rhymes and Daddies.
Yeah.
It's getting a lot of a lot of views, I bet, huh?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's the project was something I never could have imagined, and but I think it's doing a lot of good. So.
Did you ever feel like it was starting to get away from you as you reached out for it?
Yeah. It was getting a little unwieldy, and I'm glad it all came together the way it did. So
people start getting passionate about stuff, and they they go crazy. Scott, it was great seeing you.
Thank you. It was
if you
great.
need something, let us know. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right. That's today's Countywides. Thanks for watching and listening, and we will talk to you again next time.